'Cause I'm a little monster, shaking in my fur, living in her castle, scared to death of her.
Hey, it's Del T, your favorite talking chihuahua. I just love to point out stupid humans, and today I have one of the biggest idiots on the face of the earth. I am talking about David Lammy, the king of the tards. I have some fun memes of David I want to share with you. David Lammy. Every time I open my mouth, a meme is born. This one is good. If money doesn't grow on trees, then why do banks have branches? Of course, if you interview Lammy, stop making me look stupid, I can do that on my own. A person this boring and lame as a product would be the Laminator, and he would be defective at that. So this is the greatest village idiot that the United Kingdom has ever produced. Come on, Brits, you can do better than this.
Little monster, shaking in my fur, living in her castle, scared to death of her.
Please consider purchasing a monthly channel membership. It isn't just about the benefits you accrue with your membership, but how you will help to further my evil reign here on YouTube. For $4.99 per month, you can become a Bella's booster, and as my enthrallment takes over your life, you will consider a $9.99 per month membership to claim your Bella's best thrall status. Join my horde now.
Get the sound up. Hello, everybody. And since then, I've had another thrall come under my enthrallment. It's Wayne Wilkinson. What a lovely fellow he is. So wonderful to see you all. And I know, I hope that's not a challenge, getting somebody better than Laney. But Alan says, unfortunately, we can't. And Lauren says, Laney said Henry the... No, he said Henry the First, I thought. If I'm not mistaken, yeah. He was on a UK show, kind of like the US Jeopardy, called Mastermind. And they asked him what king followed Henry VIII. And he said Henry the First. The man is good for laughs. Even if he isn't embarrassed, right? Henry VIII came after the Henry VII, and Maria Antoinette won the Nobel Prize. I forgot that. and Lawrence says, "Hola, Karina. Hola to you. Hola to you, my dear friend, Lawrence. Wonderful that anybody bothers to show up and watch me babble." So, welcome. Today wasn't, I don't know, there wasn't a lot of news, but we'll see. Let me see something here. You know, I should have checked. Let me check something really quick. I didn't do this. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see much. I don't see much yet, so you're gonna have to help me, Britt, for the UK news part, because I didn't see too much, but let's see. I'm sure something's happening. Something awful, probably, though. And Clark says Maria Antoinette was a vampire, obviously, immune to radiation. Yeah, not if he saw her towards the end, with those clawed hands and stuff. No, I guess they were good for Halloween, when kids have claws for hands from all that radiation. So, yeah. And Alan says, oh, yeah, men can grow women parts. Yeah, David Laney. Yeah, the man who agrees that a man can grow a cervix. With medical help and the different medicines, David Laney believes a man can grow a cervix. Oh, you gotta love it. And he has a Harvard degree. Oh, yeah. It's all so fake and gay. So fake and gay. Lois. And he's basically, he's Marco Rubio. He's the UK Marco Rubio if you're in the United States. He's basically their Secretary of State, Foreign Affairs, Commonwealth. Yeah, you got the damn long titles. The UK. And you give them to idiots. Our education's so declining in the UK. Yeah, well, I guess we can't talk either in the US. No, we can't talk either. Oh boy. we ain't the brightest of bulbs, you know? There used to be a joke where you could say somebody's not the brightest of bulbs and say they were an LED, like an LED bulb, but that ain't true anymore. The LEDs are damn bright. That's kind of amazing how that happened. Yeah, let's see. And, well, for the US, will you start talking? Let's see. Is my VLC player going to work for me today? I don't know. Oh, I gotta add that as a source over here. Let's see. Add that real quickly. There we go. Okay, put it down here. There we go. Let's see what we got. So, the big news, I guess, in the States today is the President Trump's big beautiful bill, which is gonna $5 trillion in spending. $5 trillion in spending. Yeah, big and beautiful. Okay, well, it passed the House of Representatives. So, yeah, it's gonna be, I don't know, it's gonna, because it's not totally covered. I don't know if they're gonna try to work more on that or not, but it's gonna probably be at least another $1 trillion deficit added to our already $36 trillion national deficit. So we'll see. But it passed, of course, just barely in the House. So Trump's gonna have a ceremony where he signs his big beautiful bill 9 a.m. Washington time tomorrow on our Day of Independence, the 4th of July. Let's see here. So let me play this. This is it passing in the House of Representatives. So
The nays are
let's see.
218. The nays are 2.
Yeah, there we go. This is the leader of the U.S. House of Representatives. Right here, Speaker Johnson.
The nays are 218. The nays are 214. The motion is adopted.
So, yeah. Okay, you're giving themselves a pause for bankrupting the country. Yay! Yay! What the hell? I don't know. I think Trump's counting on, what, they're saying 11 trillion coming into the country? You can't count that crap, but whatever. And here was the vote. Here was the vote in the House. So what happens was, the House pushed it out first, right? And then it went to the Senate, and they made all kind of changes, and they put a whole bunch of crap that boosted up to $5 trillion in the bill. And so then it had to come back to the House, and they had to vote on those changes. Now, they could also have made more changes, and then it would have to go back to the Senate, and back to the House, but they didn't. So they voted on these changes, and they voted for it just barely. So it was a total of 215 yeses, yays, and 213 nays. So just barely passed with 2 votes in the House. So like I said, it now goes to Trump. So I guess today that's our big news. Oh, and there's a lot of fun before this. We have a real winner in the Democrat Party called Hakeem Jeffries. And he's like the leader of the Democrats now. I think he is. I'm taking note that Nancy Pelosi isn't anymore in the House of Representatives. And so he went on to a big speech from last night on to today. And it's not a filibuster. And if you're in the UK and you ever heard that term, filibuster, that's a Senate term. So in the Senate, at certain points of debate, a person can get up, especially the opposition, and they can go on for days if they want and hold up everything. And, until they finally can't speak, and then they try to get a Republican to jump in to stop the filibuster at that point. Or just everyone would say, shut the hell up, will you? But the House doesn't have that. So, the Speaker of the House that we just saw, Johnson, allowed this blowhard to go on since last night. And, blah, 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 blah. Because it could be shut down in the House. You're going to shut these people down. But they let him blab on, and he finally stopped, and they got the vote in. Anyways, but let's see. Do I have something here? So this is him, Hakeem Jeffries.
That's not...
Whoops. Go wide there. Let me make it bigger. Bigger over here. Whoops. I'm moving. I'm still no good at this one. Come on, get bigger for me, will you, damn it? There's gotta be an easier way, but I'm too stupid to figure it out. Let's see.
what this country should be all about. Manu wasn't the only one. The only American citizen who's been targeted by the deportation machine, a deportation machine that will be unleashed on steroids by this one big ugly bill.
Wow, it sounds wonderful. Wow. A deportation machine on steroids. Wonderful. Where can I vote for this? So, yeah, that's the best the Dems could do. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, wonderful. Let's see. And Lawrence, yeah, okay. Oh, Tom made it. Oh, thank you for joining us, Tom. So wonderful to see you back here again. Hi, Bella. Hi, Tom. And Alan says, cheer up all, Pope did a great set at the Glastonbury. And Lawrence says, she came from Greece. She had a thirst for knowledge. She studied sculpture at St. Martin's College. That's where I caught her eye. Are we talking Marie Antoinette? She's French, though, right? Yeah. Long dead, or supposedly. She does have a cause for a demon, right? Okay. Lawrence says that was Yanis Varoufakis. I don't know. I'm going to say something decent. Posh wife. Jarvis Crocker, Greek girlfriend and student London, the Greek finance minister, on a motorcycle during the crisis. Oh, interesting. And Lawrence says someone wanted to remove the filibuster. I think Chuck Schumer. Yeah. Well, that's interesting because usually the party that's not in power, which is the Democrats, don't want to remove the filibuster. So, yeah. So maybe Chuck Schumer, I don't know, is tired of all the gameplay, the games that have to be played in there. It's up to them. It's just kind of a delaying tactic, it's irritating, but, when the Dems did that, under, I can't think of his name, a former House Speaker, Harry Reid. They cut out the filibuster area, and then finally the Republicans got back in power, and everything that the Dems did, they did 10 times more worse, and he kept all of their rules, and then the Democrats didn't like it. I never liked that Harry Reid. Real nasty person. All gains. Let's see. And didn't some guy beat the record last month? Yeah, I think it was Hakeem Jeffries. He beat his own record. Yeah, a record in futility. Oh, yeah. What do you think? Do you think a presidential run? Hakeem Jeffries in the United States is known as the discount Ben Obama. Yeah. It's a much cheaper version of Barack Hussein Obama. Hakeem Jeffries, just what we need in this country, running this country. And he's a dumbass. He is a dumbass. Oh boy. Oh. Yeah, he's on my list of dumbasses. Yes. Let's see. Born sinners. We have an MP who does that. Reads the names of all the migrants who arrived over the channels. Takes all weekend. In your House of Commons, he's just there all by himself reading. Pathetic, isn't it? Just silly. Really silly. Now, hi, Allison. Thank you for joining. Bella, it's a bit of a chilly evening here in London. Roll on the global warming. Yeah, but then you were having a touch of a heat wave, weren't you? Just a few days ago. So it's global warming when it's convenient, right? Or climate change. Yeah. Climate change. We're having climate change. Yeah, climate change every damn day, every season, every year. Nothing new. And let's see. And Stephen Arato. Oh, you've been here before, haven't you, Stephen? Yeah, the dime store Obama. Indeed. That's Hakeem Jeffries. I don't think Barack Obama was all that bright either. I just thought he was always a puppet of the Democrat Chicago machine, right? You know, they brought him out of nowhere, but yeah. So, and but Biden said something terrible about Barack Obama. It's very racist, of course, because Biden had a history of racism and everything. But when Obama came on the scene right out of nowhere, out of Chicago, the most corrupt political machine known in the Democrat machine known in the U.S. Though I guess California is taking that place as number one. He said he was a clean and well-spoken black person. That's why he was such a success. Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the right clean and well-spoken black person. That's why he had the success he had. What a horrible thing for him to say. Just absolutely disgusting. And that's really these Democrats, you know, especially the white liberals. They're really disgusting people. And I hope he's lower maintenance. Yeah, I hope he doesn't have a Michelle hidden behind him. You gotta do something creepy, some creepy woman behind him. I gotta check into that. Does he have a wife? At least they don't make nothing of her, at least not yet. So, we'll see. Or a boyfriend. Is he like Pete Buttigieg? Yeah, Buttigieg? I can't pronounce that guy's name. I don't know. Buttigieg? Oh, that guy's creepier than hell. And Alan says, how was Bardo? Just a warm summer's day. Yes. And Lawrence says, I haven't slept for 3 nights with 32 Celsius overnight all week. And you're in Spain, right? So yeah. Yeah, you're not in the middle of the desert, are you out there? What's it called? Extremadura in Spain, in central Spain? Yeah. Where it's really hot in the summers? Oh yeah, I bet. I bet it's been a little bit more. I like it chilly too, of course. Yeah. During the summer days here at Castle Nightshade, gotta get the fog machines working. Cool down the temperatures. Yeah, if you're undead, yeah, you don't want it hot. That's for sure. You know, a nice, cool, crisp, frozen night. It's lovely, absolutely lovely. And down in the crypt where I do my podcast. Yeah, we have a great. Have it wired really well down here, so I don't have to go out anywhere near the sun during the day. Yeah, lovely. And we got Starlink at the castle, so I got really, yeah, I could do streaming because of it. A few years back, I couldn't. So yes, wonderful. So yeah, I'm a bit of a Elon Musk fan a little bit. Though if I say anything to Elon Musk, I'm always contradicting him on his posts. like whenever he talks about Mars, I like to go on there and talk about what a hellhole and a death trap Mars is good for humans. I'm not going. You can establish a colony before I think of going there. But yeah. Like Elon Musk he's posted before about what are we gonna name the first colony on Mars? Of course, my reply has always been Death Valley. You're all gonna die. Do you know how awful Mars is? It's terrible. That's a horrible place. That there isn't no life. Yeah, unless it's microbial. There's no life now, at least. So. Death Valley. That was my reply. Of course, you know. Of course, he never replied. I can't imagine him saying that out of millions of replies, anyways. But yeah. One time, I've done this numerous times, but one of my replies, when I just started talking about how awful Mars was, the conditions on there, got like 70,000 replies. It was really interesting. When something blows up a little bit, for me that's big time. That's big time, right? But yeah. So yeah, people got on there. People were all butthurt about what I said. Then other people were like, yeah, damn right. It's a hellhole. So, I've always said he's building this not for humans. He's building it for the AI. That's another place. But, I don't want to go into that. I keep boring you and go into that crap. Let's see. And, alright. And Lord says, that is a tad warm, Alan says. And Allison says it's 20 degrees now. It's supposed to go down to 10 later. Really? I know it's 10 Celsius. I know that's cool, though. Wow, in the UK? Where? Oh, I don't want you to dox yourself, Allison, but are you like up in the Highlands, like in Scotland or something? Or are you in some special place where it gets especially cold? Maybe you're out with Starlink up in one of those isolated Shetland Islands or something? Well, that would be lovely. I could see Allison in a lovely haunted castle on the moors, right? Out on the moors. I don't know what it's. And Lawrence says, PTM, it feels like 3 p.m. last year, and sunset in May was 9 p.m. We all feel undead. Don't go out until nightfall. You have a siesta all day, or build yourself your own crypt like I have. Yeah, sleep during the day. Go out at night. Party time. Time to eat, right? Yeah, okay. Though we're probably not talking about the same thing, are we? Howard says, I've insulated my home so well. It's super hot in the summer and super cold in the winter. You got anti-insulation. Anti-insulation. Yeah, I say that like the U.S. I should say it like the U.K. Anti-insulation. Indeed. That's god-awful small affair to the girl with the mousy hair. Oh, I love that song, Lawrence. I adore David Bowie. Oh, I so love that song. Sailors dancing in the dance hall. Oh man, look at those cavemen go. Yeah, I adore that song. And, what's his name? Wakefield? Playing the keyboard there? What a beautiful job on the keyboard. I adore that song. Oh, just lovely song. And Allison says, Alan, And Lauren says, Luke Besson is releasing a French Dracula. I don't know. For me, it's Nosferatu, 1922. I mean, that's the best. And of course, the original novel. But the usually immortals, you make us vampires look so. Indeed. So gay. Indeed. Totally. So, yeah, it's kind of hard to watch your movies about us. Except for maybe a laugh or two. Interview with a Vampire someday. What, in Twilight? Oh, boy. Yeah, just go on and thinking we're mostly harmless. Yeah, just keep thinking, man. Rick Wakeman, what are the keyboards on that song? What a pianist Rick Wakeman is. What a talent. Oh, yeah, he's an incredible musician, and I see occasionally on YouTube, I'll see something by him that he's still playing a recent concert or something, and yeah, put that on, and wow, it's wonderful. Great musicians are just incredible to watch. Or it says Bowie's coming to our club down the road tonight. Maybe I should go on. Is Bowie undead? Yeah. You would make a great undead, wouldn't you? Yeah. But yeah, I do adore David Bowie. At least he was different, At least he was different, and he always tried different things. Whether I liked him or not, he tried something different. So I give him credit for that. And when he was on, it was like really wonderful. One album that I liked from Bowie that a lot of people don't like was Low, where he worked with Brian Eno, a lot of synthesizers and stuff. I thought it was just fascinating. The songs they came out with, most of them were just short and quick. I'm always crashing in the same car. I love that album. I also like Scary Monsters. The guitarist in that, I can't think of his name. It sounds otherworldly, the guitar work in that, so I really enjoy that album. And let's see. Lauren says The Hunger, Bowie, Catherine, yeah, I never could say her. Benabou, gosh, I'm not French. Susan Sarandon, Undead. I kind of remember that. Movie, not really much though. Let's see. What else do I got in the news? Not much. Let's see, what else? The Day Beautiful Bill. Oh, terrible news in Germany. Just awful. So let me put this in here. Hopefully my VLC's. No, I lost it. No, I didn't. Okay, there we go. Yeah, yeah, this is in, well, where did I say it actually was? This is in Germany, going from Hamburg to Vienna in Bavaria. I shouldn't be laughing because it's a sad story. But in Germany, a man attacks multiple passengers on a high-speed train with an axe and a hammer. Several passengers overpowered and severely injured the attacker, a Syrian national. So, and this was hours and hours ago, so I hadn't heard any more, but suspect injured, in custody, 150 personnel deployed, the railway was closed. But yeah, just craziness, but a crazy Syrian migrant, so, let's see. Heroes, yeah, Roger Fripp, he was on that album, Scary Monsters. Too, yeah, he's King Crimson guitarist, but just something about, I don't know, it's so much of it's like atonal, doesn't sound familiar, and it sounds wonderful on that, and with Bowie's weird lyrics and songs that he's singing on that album, it was like after John Lennon's death. So yeah, I love that album. Of course, Hunky Dory is wonderful too, but yeah, number of albums, and each one seems to be a little different, or totally different than the other one. Hamburger Heights, sorry Alan, I know. Go ahead and mock me, hamburger to the end. Hamburger to Hamburg. Yeah, I just said you don't have to be right today, vampire. Oh, and So yeah, I don't mean to make fun of the story itself though. Just being an idiot is kind of funny. At least I sometimes realize it. And Warren says, like the 3 American college kids who stopped the terrorists on the Brussels train in London. Now, what was that, 2016? Clint Eastwood made a movie. Oh, he did? I didn't know that. And they were like the only ones. Everyone else was just standing around it, but trying to remember that case. So yeah. But yeah, that's kind of wonderful why when we have guns, right? You know, here in the States. Yeah, you know, anyone could start firing, but our incidents seem to happen where people don't have guns, right? Though we had that crazy man a couple of days ago, who attacked a church and attacked the church. He was going to go on a rampage, and somebody showing up to church ran him down with a car. That allowed, they had a security guard, luckily, and the security guard then shot that person dead. But they estimate well over 1 million, if not several million, crimes and acts of violence. And you can imagine hundreds of thousands of deaths are stopped in the U.S. People don't realize that. They're stopped every year because we're armed. Right? And a lot of the craziness happens like in schools, like you see the school shootings. And now, sadly, to see you have the school stabbings in the UK. So yeah, let's outlaw the knives, right? You know. Yeah, that's the solution. Okay, all right. Or of course, there are means in some of your countries to own arms. And then some crazy person, occasionally will go on to a shooting or something in Europe somewhere. So, but let's see, what else do I have? Okay, so I had that. Oh, and then there was another knife attack, and this sadly happened in Tampere, Finland. Let's see. So again, this might be something you already seen. Let's see. I'll just slide this up. Finnish media says, whoops, again, I need to get this up here, or I can put it in front. Put it in front of me. Finnish media says several people have been stabbed in the southern city. However, that said, Tampere. At least one attacker was arrested after multiple people were injured near Atina Mall. Finnish police confirmed the scene is secure. And no ongoing threats exist, but just awful. And as what I'd heard, I should have looked it up before I came online. I didn't see that there was any word on who the attacker was yet. So was Graz? Yeah, that was what? Just a week or a week and a half ago, Graz. Austria? Yes. Yeah. So supposedly it was a legal firearm for Austria. So, hey. But yeah, it's amazing. So many of these things happen so often now, don't they? And they just kind of disappear from the media. We don't hear anymore. And of course, I imagine, including me, all our attention spans are so short. Or you just wait for where we have a real winner in the United States, like the Idaho. That'll last a few days, but that died out. That weird Minneapolis shooting. The guy supposedly going after the Democrats. He had a list of 70, and then that nut job tells the FBI that the governor of the state, Tim Walz, was in on it or something. Was paying him or something to carry out these attacks. Wow, but that's disappeared. That's not being talked about anymore. But wow, yeah. we tend to take the cake over here, don't we, in the States? Wow. Just to think that was just within the last 3 weeks or so, right? All this craziness. So yeah. And Lauren says, we always assume it's an Islamist, though the guy who drove a car into Liverpool crowd was a former squatty. Does a squatty mean a police officer? Or does that mean, see? No. So let me know words. Let me know. Former squatty. Okay. Yeah, and supposedly he got upset about being taunted or something. So, yeah. Let's see. Okay, this is a little gruesome. Let's see. Army soldier. Okay, that makes sense. Oh, thank you, Lawrence. Thank you for explaining that to me. Yeah, well, yeah. Well, in the U.S., it's interesting. I mean, former Army people, they can be obviously Democrat, they can be Republican, and they can get out of the military and become criminals. They could start being criminals, because under certain cases, the U.S. military will take you in. One thing about the U.S. military is you have to give it credit to. Presidents used to claim that they can reform a lot of people, but the U.S. military really does. They're not all of them, because some come in as criminals and some leave and go on to a life of crime. Some get damaged, some get into drugs, even in the military. And but it does manage to literally reform a lot of people. So it's been a positive overall, especially in peacetime, where young people who have a little bit of a troubled background could come in, and it provided they start listening to other people, it can really change their lives, and there's so many examples of that. So let's see, and I'm sure that's the case in the UK too. So yeah. And Lady Tip, hello everyone. Hello Lady Tip, thank you for joining. Let's see, what else? I think that's about it as far as news items. Does anyone want to bring up anything? Oh, I have a little thing here. A fellow named Steven shared this with me. I thought this was real cute. He's talking about, it's a comic book poster. I always like the looks of these. So, it goes back to 35 cents. So I thought that was nice, sharing that with me. And his daughter's name is Lilith. Yeah, if you only knew the real Lilith. She's nuts. She's basically the precursor for all vampires. But she's nuts. She's crazy. But yeah, I always like the looks of the old comic book covers. I need some of my own for my Chiroptera journal, because it's kind of fun. But you can't beat the older ones. They just look so awesome. So, and Helen says, hi, Lady Tip. Wonderful you joined us. So let me know if there's anything else you want to talk about. I'll go ahead and do a little bit of a talk about Sabbatai Zevi, if you all want to hear that. And if you don't worry, it's okay to leave. It's kind of going on with what we were talking about the other day. I'll give you a few moments to see if anyone wants to bring up anything else. So, the Hawaiian comic was great. Yeah? Oh, is that one that you read a lot of? Okay. So, what I was talking about yesterday, we talked about, and it all ties in. I guess what we're going to is maybe tomorrow I'll have something about just Jacob Franks and Frankism, and it ties back to Candace Owens talking about this movement within it never was technically mainstream Judaism, but it's an offshoot that happened. And it seems like it's well and alive among the powerful. But we talked about an idea, and I think it's a lot older than the 2nd century, obviously. We talked about the Carpocratians yesterday. And basically, we're sinning. The idea of sinning, breaking all the laws, all the morality, makes you closer to God. And then we also talked about antinomianism, which is just an expensive word to say breaking the law, basically, or against the law, antinomian. But one of those, college words, a very fancy university word to say breaking the law, right? The holy law, morality. So the next person that we're talking about is called Sabbatai Zevi. So let's see. The word said here, Countess Dracula was a real historical figure, Hungarian. Yeah, there had to be several, because there was a king, Dracula, the person who we call Dracula. His father was part of the I'm gonna get distracted here, but his father was the Order of the Dragon, the Holy Roman Order of the Dragon, and so his title was Dracul. So yeah, I won't go over it. Okay. Hungary did with their special badge to retain eternal life. Oh, you're thinking of Countess Bathory. Yeah, she was a monster. Yeah, human sacrifice and bleeding people. That was Countess Bathory of Hungary. So I don't think she was ever called Dracula, though. But yeah, she really personified it, though. Human mortal form. Where it says, I think Bram Stoker based Dracula on French Count Gilles de Rais, too, beside the obvious. I think I heard of him. He was pretty bad, wasn't he? He was considered a pretty awful person. So let's get into Sabbatai Zevi, a very interesting figure that very few people have ever heard of. So I'll put the picture back up here, and why he's important, and he'll tie into the Jacob Frank, Jacob Frank that we'll talk about tomorrow, and his movement. So this fellow here, let me get my notes here. Let's see. So yeah, I even bothered trying to prepare a little better this time. So we're going back in time to the 17th century, so the 1600s, right? And this fellow here, Sabbatai Zevi, we're going back to the Ottoman Empire, right? Think of the Ottoman Turks. The Ottoman Turks had an empire. At this time, they had Greece. They had all of Anatolia, which is modern-day Turkey. They had all of the Holy Land, right? Well, we now think of Israel, Syria, Jordan, all those countries, all of North Africa. Not all of North Africa, some of those, they had those pirate kingdoms, so they were like subjects to the Ottoman kingdom. Yeah, they were still considered part of the Ottoman kingdom, but they allowed different rulers to rule in the name of the Sultan in of the Ottoman Empire. So it was probably the most powerful empire on earth, right? So very, very powerful. It later on decayed, and there's really interesting reasons for that. I'm not going to go too much into it, but at some point, right, we talked about all the decay that nowadays that liberalism can bring. Well, conservatism too, if you don't change with the times, conservatism too can bring on decay if you just refuse to change anything, especially in courts and stuff. There gets to be a certain point they get so powerful, and everyone around them starts changing, and like the Europeans start growing in power, and they don't make the moves that's happening in the world around them. So eventually, by the 19th century and into the 20th century, the Ottoman Empire had decayed so much, didn't stay up with the times. The Europeans were beating them everywhere, that they were the sick man of Europe, they were called. And by the first World War, they were the sick man, and the Brits, being defeated at Gallipoli at first, which was just totally horribly run campaign, they ended up at the end being able to roll up the Ottoman Empire all the way back into Turkey itself. And then the Young Turks took over, and well, that's getting outside of this, but it's really interesting. So the Ottoman Empire was the big cheese, right? They were the big cheese back then. So Sabbatai Zevi was born, he's a Jew, was born in Smyrna, which is Anatolia, which is part of what we call modern day Turkey. And I don't know if the town is still called Smyrna, but I think it's near modern day Izmir. At least the biblical Smyrna is there. And he was born supposedly on Tisha B'Av, which is one of the Judaism's fasting days. So there's a lot of feast days, there's different feast days under Jewish law. There's also a different fasting day. And this becomes important later on in Sabbatai's life. And in Hebrew, Sabbatai means Saturn. In Jewish tradition, the reign of Sabbatai, the highest planet, was often linked to the advent of the Messiah. So, and we're going to see he's later proclaimed himself and by others to be the Jewish Messiah. And his family, his Hebrew family, were what were called Romaniotes. Put Roman, then IOTES. I'm sure I butchered that. But they were part of a Greek-speaking ethnic Jewish community. And my understanding, in Greece in World War II, most of that community was wiped out, because the Nazis conquered Greece, and then they took control, and then they started shipping the Jews out. So many of them perished. So there's not many left, if any are. Well, I imagine there's a few that managed to survive, but that was mostly destroyed then. So he studied. His father acquired some wealth, and his father had young Sabbatai study the Talmud, but apparently he wasn't too fond of that, so he wasn't a great Talmudic scholar. So here's more stuff that you can learn. Other than just the Talmud, there's more things that are considered holy books. And what we're going to talk about, what Sabbatai enjoyed studying was the Zohar. And this is Kabbalah. So you've heard of Kabbalah. Kabbalah, pretty much in most modern day Jewish teachings, the Kabbalah comes from the Middle Ages, right? So we're not too long. I think we're talking either 13th or to the 15th century. I have to study that again. But Kabbalah is not as old, obviously, than the Torah, right? You have the Torah for a holy book for the Jews. You have the study on the Talmud, which is after the temple was destroyed and everything. The Jews put together different studies and books. And then you had the Kabbalah, which is mostly mystical. But books like the Zohar, which is the foundational book, if I'm not mistaken, of Kabbalah, is also a holy book among the Jews. So you could become, you don't necessarily have to, my understanding is, but if you want to, you could take up those, as a Jew, those studies of the Zohar itself. And let's see, then once there's not Vlad the Impaler, the much older Dracula war, later the admin was really, yeah, indeed. And we're talking about, only a couple hundred years since the conquest of Constantinople, and the final destruction of Byzantium, which was really the Eastern Roman Empire. So you can think about Rome. Rome really didn't end until the beginning of the 15th century. Okay, and so he really liked, Sabbatai really liked the Talmud, not the Talmud, the Zohar. And the Zohar means splendor or radiance, splendor or radiance. And there was a particular teacher, Isaac Luria, who was a very famous, I imagine still to this day, person who had writings, Jewish rabbinic scholar who had writings on how to interpret the Zohar. So, Sabbatai was very into that part, right? So, let's see. We're gonna skip around a bit. We're gonna go right ahead. So, one of the things, they worded this really weird, but one of the things, a belief at the time, right? So, everything was primed for Sabbatai, Zeri. At the time, and here they're using computation, but numerology, I imagine that's what they really mean, right? Even to this day, in the Bible, in Jewish studies, numerology, right? And there seems to be a lot of that with the Zohar. So there was belief that at this time that there was going to be a Jewish Messiah in 1648. So already everything was primed. And it looks like he's still, for those people, he's the only one that fulfilled this, right? So in 1648, obviously there's just a lot more, that happened here. Sabbatai announced to his followers in Smyrna that he was indeed the anticipated messianic redeemer. And to prove this, he started to pronounce the Tetragrammaton, which is Yahweh, right? You know those letters? Yahweh, which is prohibited for anybody but the high priest, right? You know, you can spell out the words, but you can't say them out loud. So ever since the destruction of the temple, no high priest. So one of the things the Jewish Messiah was supposed to do was to proclaim out loud, because he's basically saying, I am the new high priest for the Jews, right? And so this was in Smyrna in 1648. Between them, he had some where he basically moved around, and Sabbatai ended up like in Gaza. His wife was really interesting. Her name was Sarah, and she came out of I'm thinking out of Poland or something. But the claim was she was being forced to be like a Christian convert by Christians, and she somehow miraculously escaped. Well, apparently the Sarah was a very beautiful woman, but she lived as a prostitute, and then she ended up into his circle, and Sabbatai claimed her as his wife. But she was a very powerful, apparently very beautiful woman. But as these things go, because he married a prostitute. Let's see, do I have this written down? Everything is really weird when you get into this stuff, whether it's Christian eschatology or the Jews or end time. What you think would be awful actually makes it look better. Somewhere in the Old Testament, one of the prophets, there's a passage that people interpret, the Jews interpret, that the Messiah would marry a prostitute and redeem her as a prostitute. So all this stuff works together. Isn't it interesting? And then there was another fellow, Nathan of Gaza. Who, when Sabbatai was moving, he was kicked out of Smyrna when he proclaimed himself to be the Messiah. They basically threw him out and his followers. But he ended up in Gaza, and we all heard of Gaza, right? So there's this fellow Nathan of Gaza, who is also considered holy in that area, who jumped on the bandwagon and said, yeah, Sabbatai is this fulfillment, and he's the new, he's the Jewish Messiah that all the Jews have been waiting for. And so word started spreading and everything. And then Sabbatai, along with Sarah, and this Nathan fellow, and he had already had a community, returned back to Smyrna. And in Smyrna, they kicked out the head of the rabbis in Smyrna and put their own person in power, and everything got really crazy, right? So by now, word was getting back to Europe, and Europe got messianic fever, and one of the things could be because of especially like in Poland, Lithuania, spreading up into those states, was the pogroms, basically where Jews were attacked. In Russia, I don't know if he was very big in Russia, but in these other Eastern European countries, Northern European countries, the word spread big time, and they got on board that the Messiah was here and everything. And one of the things that Sabbatai started doing, probably to show that he was the fulfillment, is antinomianism. So remember I said earlier, he was born in Tisha B'Av, which was a fasting day. So back in Smyrna, Sabbatai declaimed that it was his birthday. From now on, it was going to be celebrated as his birthday, and that it was going to be a feast day, right? Because the Messiah can change the Jewish traditions. Let's see, I think I have that written down. Let's see. Yeah, do I have it? Okay. Well, let's just go with, and to keep it simpler, let's just go with teachings and the Talmud of the law, of the different laws, dietary laws, and different feast days. So, in these circles, it was felt that since he now is the fulfillment that they've been waiting for of the law, of the Jewish law, that means he could change the law. So that's what we talked about yesterday, antinomianism. So under the Jews, right, following the laws, being strict about them, and is very important. So being antinomian and calling yourself the Messiah comes hand in hand, at least to some. The people that were following him, they took that, yes, that is a bigger sign. Well, he pissed off enough people in Smyrna that they had to leave. They had to flee Smyrna, and I guess they reinstalled their old rabbi, I would imagine. And so they went up to Constantinople, which would already, I'm sure, be called Istanbul, right? And they went up there, and then some of the powers to be in Smyrna started talking to the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, and because Nathan of Gaza was shooting off his mouth that Sabbatai was going to Constantinople to become the new Sultan, and that he would bring world peace and everything. Well, the only way he could become the new Sultan, right, is through replacing the old Sultan. So the word got to the real Sultan that this guy was talking smack. Let's just put it in modern terms, right? But he was talking smack, and so he gets to be arrested. Yeah, not too smart, but he wasn't killed, right? He wasn't killed by the Sultan. So what ends up happening, and you gotta remember even the move to Constantinople, which is, I don't know why they're using it in this term. It would be Istanbul in this era. Was a sign of excitement. Like I said, it became feverish. I've seen in some books, I tried to find it online, but maybe I didn't word it right. But they had all kinds. They had books that they were printing in Eastern Europe in these Jewish circles. They were making commemorative plates and everything, showing his image that the Messiah is here. I mean, it really overtook Eastern Judaism. Big time. There was a messianic fever. So the Sultan, obviously, the real Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, had Sabbatai arrested. And let's see, he was given 3 choices, either to be beheaded, I think, to be crucified, and all his followers, or the third choice was to be to renounce Judaism. Was to renounce Judaism and become a Muslim. And so I also said that part of me thinks the whole Nathan and all this talk was to also bring about this ending. And he didn't end just because of this, but was to bring about this again, to another way to show above the law. So it was interesting that he wasn't just executed, because for saying you're going to be the Sultan, why make him the chance to convert? Just execute him, right? Because that's what you would expect, the Turkish Sultan. So it kind of makes me wonder, but maybe it was working in the plans, because the Sultan then, obviously as a pious Muslim, he was able to humiliate all of Judaism, right? So I can kind of see that, but was it also part of Sabbatai, the antinomianism, right? What was it part of that? So Sabbatai obviously renounced Judaism and became a Muslim, and though he kept, he was given a pension by the Sultan for doing this, and as the word got back to Eastern Europe, it was, in Jewish Europe, it was so crushing to the Jews. Like I said, the pogroms and stuff were still happening, up into the 19th century. So different Jewish circles were always suffering and everything. And it was supposed to have been such a letdown, such a crushing defeat at this time for Eastern the Jews of Northern Europe. So that, but his followers were known as Sabbatean, and still, if you look at everything, he still was. I'm sure there was other people too, but he really was the only one on the right day proclaimed to be the Messiah. So there still are circles that yes, he was the fulfillment of the Jewish messianic desires and the numerology and all of that from the Zohar. So there are still people who to this day believe that yes, he was the Messiah, and part of the antinomian abilities, right, was he could even forsake his own religion. So there still are supposedly Sabbatean Jews to this day. There still are even in Europe, and I think in the U.S., some who don't come out and say it, but believe and study him as the fulfillment of the Messiah. But most will say no. Obviously most will say no. So it's very interesting. And a lot of people didn't know about this in history. So, but Sabbatai apparently ends his life, I guess, at old age, but he's still doing stuff behind the scene, right? Supposedly being a pious Muslim, but then he's still talking to the Jews, saying, yeah, I am the Messiah and all of this. So eventually, even the Sultan, again, he doesn't kill him, which is really interesting. The Sultan gets tired of his crap, kicks him out of Istanbul, and let's see, do I have here where he finally dies? Let's see. So, yeah. So he got exiled to, I can't even pronounce it, Ulcinj. And his wife died in 1674. Zevi then married Esther. And then in 1676, let's see, he's still playing the part of a Muslim, but he's still writing books about Kabbalah and stuff, and so very, very odd. And he just basically, his death was in 1676, and there was supposedly a tomb to him that survived until 1967, and so very interesting. But to talk about the next person we're going to talk about today is you have to know his background. So let's see. Lord says, is he connected to the Rosicrucians? No, not that I know. No, but in Kabbalistic circles, he's still well known. Like I said, it's my belief that some of them, there's still some rabbis, some radicals that will talk about him, because otherwise, this guy obviously, as you can imagine, is considered a big shame to Jews. But because of the writings, numerology is considered valid in Kabbalah. It's very mystical, and there's still some people, even if they won't say it out loud, that he is the Messiah. So yeah, so it's still very interesting. And does he have any living descendants? Do we know of? Oh, let's see. Let me look here. the Sabbateans still carried on. They're called the Donme, D-O-N-M-E. And there was even a city that the Donme, the Sabbateans, right? So I think we had that tying in, like I said, to Saturn. Let's see. They're saying that there might have been as many as 2,000 Donme in Turkey. One thing I did see was the Donme, again, the Sabbateans, we used the term Sabbateans, that they may have been involved because some of them became very powerful, right? Very, very powerful merchants. And when the Ataturk, remember the Young Turks, they took power and they destroyed the Ottoman Empire. And Ataturk himself, the head of the Young Turks, was the leader. And even to this day, well, the Islamists don't admire him as much, but most Turks adore. He's their great figure. So you ask who's the greatest man in history, you get from Turks, Ataturk. So, that the Young Turk movement was filled because they had money. They had money and they had power by this time. And, that they were, part of the Young Turk movement that brought down the Ottoman Empire. So I don't know if that's true or not. And then getting back to carpocration, supposedly, that in some of the Donme circles, the Sabbatean circles, they became more like that, right? Sinning, how do you prove that you're the fulfillment of the law and your Messiah's? How do you prove that? So incest, father-daughter marriages, supposedly that more and more of that creeped into those circles. So again, it all seems to tie in, doesn't it? So very interesting. And yeah, as far as his own descendants, I don't know. I don't know. So let's see. But do more than I do. If you find this fascinating, look into it yourself too. Because, yeah, all this stuff is happening, has happened, and it's out there, and it's really fascinating. So tomorrow, Frankism, we're going to get into what's behind Frankism. And I think that ties into a lot of the evil we see in this world. So, potentially, right? I'm going to have to really get into studying that myself. Lawrence, the son will be born in the Hebrew year of 53, 1626 to Mordecai Zevi. And he will be called Sabbatai. He will be humble, the great dragon. He, the true Messiah, will sit upon my throne. Interesting. Yeah. And where it's also said, the prophecy is a bit like Zarathustra, i.e. Abraham, and confined to the cave for 40 years. And I wondered greatly that the time of miracles did not arrive. Then was heard a voice proclaiming. Okay. And then what you said down there, a son would be born. Okay, interesting, Lawrence. Please tell me more. Yeah. So, but yeah. I hope it wasn't too boring. It's interesting. Like I said, I had heard and read up a little bit about Sabbatai Zevi, but I didn't know about the Frankism. And that person that we'll talk about tomorrow claims he's the reincarnation of Sabbatai Zevi. So we kind of so that's why I'm step by step. Well, let's go over, carpocrationism. Let's go over antinomianism. So that's why yesterday. And then let's go over Sabbatai Zevi, who definitely was antinomian, but he was self-proclaimed and other people proclaimed as the Messiah. And then when the Jews in Eastern Europe were in need, right? Because, the pogroms from everything I see were just terrible. So, when they had such a great need, and they had their teachers telling them, that the Zohar, yeah, this is real. The Sabbatai, he is our Messiah. It was, and then it was totally crushed. So, in their circles, it was like the great disappointment. So, yeah, history is what is interesting that way, isn't it? Yeah. So, okay, well, I hope it was. I hope you're able to follow it. I hope you found it interesting, because it is an interesting period of time. Yeah. So, let's see. I didn't have anything to play you out, so we'll probably just end the stream. Is there anything else anyone would like to bring up? I didn't find anything funny either, because after something heavy like this, it would probably be a funny thing the show would really work, but let me know. I'll give you a minute or so. If not, we'll close it out. Okay? And see, I'll take a look and see if I had anything else. Oh, here's a picture of what Nathan of Gaza looked like, but or hitching what he supposedly looked like. So he was one of the players. So, and okay. All right. Well, I'm going to wish you all a really wonderful evening. And thank you. Thank you for listening to this. I hope it interests you, and maybe someday you'll be able to tell me so much more about this. So, yeah. So feel free. So have a wonderful evening. Thank you. I should be doing this tomorrow also. And good night, everyone. Thanks.